That might have been the biggest play in Philadelphia history. But Brandon, welcome, and say a few words real quick, and then we'll get our next panel guest in here. Say hi and see what's up.
Yeah, well, first, y'all, I just want to say go Blue. I'm excited for the game today. I'm excited because we got the weekend off to be able to enjoy the game, and I'm thankful that Mike reached out to me because I'm telling you, to have this connection is important, and I'm really thankful that I'm a part of this. So thank you for having me, and looking forward to the tailgate today.
Always great. And then the next and our last one on the panel is going to be Ben Gedeon, drafted by the Vikings in the 4th round of the 2017 NFL draft. Gedeon's out of Ohio. He's out of Hudson, Ohio. So we got an Ohio guy here, which is good. And Ben, we're glad to see you. He's a linebacker at the University of Michigan. And let's take a look and roll the B-roll on Ben Gedeon.
Shows blitz and comes with Wilson goes down at the 20. It's much football every Saturday.
Off the play fake. Oh, Holman's in trouble. Drop just shy of the.
It's already in motion on 2nd and 4. Lou foul on the roll. Pressure comes and he's sacked.
The impact of the defensive line is.
Oh, Gedeon shot out of a cannon.
Gedeon is a great example of a find that Don Brown came up with.
Peppers bringing pressure, and down goes Allen.
Just gets the snap off. There's confusion, a near collision.
Motions out. Barrett sacked again.
Ben, welcome. You want to say a few words and say hi, please?
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks to FAM for setting this up and reaching out to me and allowing me to be here. I think it's definitely something special that we have going on. And, Mike talked about the organization. I think it's something that I'm going to, try to get more involved in. And I'm really excited that I'm here talking with you guys. I finally have some Michigan ball that we get to watch today. So that's pretty exciting.
Well, I'm telling you, we're happy to have all three of you. And I just have to have one question of Mike Martin. Why do we have all three defensive players? What is this? You don't like the offensive side of the game, but it's good to have you guys.
We had to start it off strong. And I know what the defense brings to the table. So I know what I know.
As Bo says, defense wins championships. First, let me talk a little bit about how you guys got to Michigan. And let's start with Mike, because Mike, you went to Detroit Catholic Central. I'm a UD High graduate, just so you know. We'll make sure you know that right off the bat. And what's interesting is not only were you a top-notch football player, but you also wrestled. And I didn't really realize this until a number of years ago. You also played on the band when you were playing freshman football for the varsity team for Catholic Central. So you are a multi-talented individual. So how did you get to Michigan first?
I tell you what, my mom and the support I had from my family, it was huge because my mom, she didn't let me quit anything. The band thing was funny because I actually just wanted to be a part of the band because they were going to go to Hawaii that year. And I thought I was going to be able to play the triangle or something simple. And when I showed up, they said, all we have is saxophone. And I tried to quit. My mom said, heck no, and made me push through it. And that was kind of the message theme throughout my entire life. And, so the support from my family was key.
The other thing is you also were a pretty good shot putter. You almost broke the state record, which is owned by, of course, a guy that's played down the road for Michigan State. But TJ Duckett there, eh? So you threw the shot.
Yeah, I'm friends with TJ, and I remind him every time I see him that it was the marker that day. It was their fault, and it was a little windy too. Because he only got me by like a half an inch, so it is what it is.
All right. And next, I'm going to go to Brandon. Brandon's out of Detroit Crockett High School, and when you take a look at Graham, I mean, he was the Big Ten Conference co-MVP, Player of the Year, the Silver Football Award. He led the Big Ten and tackles for losses in 2 different years, and just a great career for Brandon also at the University of Michigan. But Brandon, you went to Crockett, always been a Michigan guy. Did you get there that way? You got to unmute yourself there, Brandon.
When you got babies in the house.
Yeah, we heard them.
Hey, it's a different life for me now. But I know that my dad used to bring me over to his house, cut my hair, and we watched the game on Saturdays and Sundays. We'll watch the Lions, and that's how my weekends pretty much went, going going over to my dad's side of the family. And so when Michigan came knocking at the door, end of my junior year, that was kind of like a no-brainer. That's where that was my first commit and my only commit. And I was just thankful to be able to go there, especially because my dad grew up a Michigan fan and converted me pretty much a Michigan fan.
One more question I have for you before we get to Ben. Did you talk to Tom Brady at all after that game at the Super Bowl, or has he ever talked to you about that play?
Well, we haven't talked like how we talking now, but
yeah.
After the game, he always gives me the respect. Even before the Super Bowl, it was all love. We talked for a little bit, but nothing like this because I got to get that ball signed. I still got it.
I think you might have to wait till he retires on that.
I know. And you know what's cool? He went the next year and won it all again against the Rams. So it was like, he should be able to sign it now.
He should be able. He's got enough rings there, my friend. Ben, tell us, you're an Ohioan, and coming to Michigan, did you think about it? Did you think about going to any other schools, specifically the ones down south?
Yeah. Luckily, I wasn't a huge Ohio State fan growing up. We didn't really have reckoning, so we just kind of followed the Big Ten. Michigan ended up being my first offer, so I had a lot of time to go up to Ann Arbor and check it out, and kind of just fell in love with Ann Arbor and the Michigan program. So worked out well, honestly. There's a lot of high school classmates and people I grew up with that were diehard Buckeyes. My rookie roommate up here in Minnesota was Pat Elfline, who's the center for Ohio. So I know a lot of Ohio Buckeye fans, and hopefully we get them this year so we can start talking some trash again.
When you came to the University of Michigan and went back, how much did you get a lot of crap, so to speak, from many of the people out there?
It always exists, but I don't listen to those Ohio guys anyway. Just kind of just play it off as whatever it is, and keep moving on. We got to win one of these though this year.
I know we got to do that. We already know what Brandon's doing. Ben, why don't you tell everybody, because you're with the Vikings, but you've had a couple of injury situations. Tell us what's going on right now in your career.
Yeah, I'm in my 4th year right now on the PUP list. So on this injured list here, just doing whatever I can to get back this year. And if not, hopefully I'll stay on this injured list and work this offseason to come back and play next year.
Okay. And Mike, you're out of football now. You're helping still with FAM as the chairman. We said that, but what are you doing right now?
So I'm a financial planner, and that was something that when I was going through, Brandon and I actually had the same financial folks that we worked with.
Mm-hmm.
So we were around really smart people, and I wanted to just take accountability and ownership of my own financial situation, and then wanted to find a way to help other people. So that's what I'm doing, and I enjoyed it a lot.
When you take a look, I'll ask all three of you guys, and we'll start with Mike right now. When you take a look at going from high school to college and then the pros, that jump's got to be something from each one of those. Which one kind of scared you the most? I shouldn't say scared, but probably put you back and say, "Whoa, got to really pick my game up."
So I would say from high school to college, you feel a really big physical jump. You're like, man, I'm with a bunch of guys that are very, very talented and very athletically gifted. When you get to the NFL, for me at least, it was very mental, and the student of the game aspect you had to 20x that. What you thought you were watching film in college was nothing in comparison to what you're going to have to watch in the NFL to be good for a long time. And to those little details, it's really in the details, and that was really the big jump for me.
Brandon, what about for you?
Yeah, Mike hit it right on the nose. When you go from college to the NFL, now is money involved. Then on top of that, the pressures of going whatever round you go. And then you got to be able to take it from the classroom to the field in less than an hour, because you just learned something. Now you got to know it. And if you're messing up, they can't trust you. It's just a mind game. Like, it's more mental, like you said. And, that's how everybody gets on the field and don't get on the field, from knowing what and learning what they teaching. So I think that was the biggest jump the hardest part was just getting the speed of the game, and then the mental part of it, of everything you need to know in a fast pace.
Would you agree with that, Ben? Anything you could add to that one?
Yeah, definitely. I think, every jump there's a certain amount of, the speed to game's a lot faster. I think from college to the NFL, there's certainly a jump in the scheme of everything, and it's definitely advanced. Every level there's a little bit more advanced in the schematics of things. So that was a big jump, and being able to play fast after you learn, some of those new schemes.
Then I'll ask you this question first. With this COVID-19 situation, and you and the pros, how are you preparing during the summer, thinking ahead about going into this year, knowing that it was really up in the air and what was going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, you just try to minimize all the variables as much as you can, and by that I mean just training, as you did every other summer. So, a lot of guys were lucky to find smaller gyms, smaller workout groups, whatever it was, to kind of get over some of the COVID protocols to get ready to go this year. And so far, it seems like the NFL and the PA have done a pretty solid job. There's only been a few of these outbreaks so far, so hopefully we keep it going.
In Brandon, you got right into it. No preseason. I mean, was there and the Eagles got off to kind of a slow start. You had injuries though too, different type of injuries probably than you would have normally because of this. So how did that affect your preparation, and how did it affect the team?
Well, without having preseason, you don't normally get that adrenaline rush that you normally would get, getting you ready for an actual game. So the first game you go out there, you had to kind of pace yourself because, you could really lose your breath, a lot out there, especially for me. I talk a lot. I like to talk stuff, and trash talk out there. So I really had to minimize that in the beginning until I kind of got my speed up and my wind up of playing those games. But everything was a delay this year because of COVID.
I want to remind everybody to put their questions on the Q&A widget, so we can ask the questions of the panel, so I don't keep on asking the questions, because I'm sure we're going to talk Michigan football more as we get done and what's going to happen tonight, and a little bit about the Little Brown Jug. And Mike, but I'm going to ask you the one question as I'm talking about COVID. You weren't getting ready to play football, but I'm going to put you into a position as we have our guys getting ready to play tonight, and they have not had spring football. They've not had, they've been on, off, didn't know if they're going to play. How does that affect the mental attitude, and how do you keep your focus? Jim says they're keeping their focus. How do you keep that focus, though?
Yeah, I would guess that coach is finding a way to replicate, those games that you have to work into the league play, because they don't have that. They're jumping right into league play, and they have to be as sharp as they would in, week 3 and week 1. So that time that they usually would have, they have to work all those kinks out in practice, and they have to be able to make sure they're flying full throttle. And it's going to come down to paying attention to that game plan and making sure that they execute. And they have to understand there's no, real margin of error, because, every game really, really does count more than it actually does usually, which you think would be impossible for it to happen, but it does.
And tonight's the first game, and first games are always a little bit, shall we say, you have a lot of questions because you have not played that game, and now you're playing your first game at the end of October. It's got to be different, isn't it, Mike? I mean, can you put yourself in that situation?
And the thing that I would say is I hate watching. I don't like to be on the sideline, period. So these guys have been like dogs on a leash. Like, I want to play. They're watching everybody else play, and I know they're pissed off. And I've talked to a few of the guys, and they hated having to sit while everybody else was being able to play, because these guys worked their tails off, and I felt bad for them. But now they have their opportunity. Now it's time to go. And, those kinks, they got to get them out in the first or second drive of the game, because there's going to be mistakes. They got to understand that there's going to be things that will happen, but when it does, understand, hey, let's go. We got to bounce back and get it right.
All right, and we're going to start getting some questions from our viewers and the audience. And to get those questions, we're going to bring in another member of FAM who's pretty much he's on the board. Not only on the board, but he is your Mr. PR guy, Jason Cummings. Jason's done a great job of putting this together and getting all the guys together. Jason, welcome. And what's the first question that we have for our panel?
Hey, thanks a lot, Bruce. So the first question is coming from Rhonda Valentine. And the question says, Minnesota looks tough. That said, Minnesota hasn't won versus Michigan in a long time. Is this more a mental or physical game tonight?
Let's start off with Ben. He's the guy who's been he's the youngest of the group. We'll let Ben answer that one first.
Yeah, I think, without spring ball, all these different things that happened with COVID, it's going to be interesting to see how either team's tackle and some of these things that you can't necessarily practice at practice that often. And I think tackling is one of them. And that's kind of something we saw up here at the beginning of our season is you just don't have a lot of reps tackling in live situations. So I think it will come down physically, how we can execute technique and yeah, I'm excited to watch these guys. It's been too long.
So Brandon, does the offense or the defense have the advantage in these first games?
Like you said, like defense, if you're tackling and you're doing a lot of stuff right in the beginning on your first game, I mean, that's something you could build off of because we always talk about getting the ball carrier on the ground, but I feel like on all.
Did we lose
I'm
Brandon
back.
there?
Yep,
There
I'm
you're
back.
back. There you're sideways too. That's kind of
yeah. Somebody was calling in. I had put my do not disturb on, but it cut me off. But yes, on offense tonight, what I would like to see is the quarterback play. I love to see how Milton's going to do. I feel like that's what we've been missing, a quarterback, because we've been having the defense to hold them, but just haven't had the offense to pretty much get after it like we need to. But I'm excited for tonight because I think it's going to be a lot of answered questions tonight, and I'm just excited to see Michigan play.
Okay. Jason, we have another question. I see.
We got a question from Samuel Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
And Samuel's question is, how does the lack of fans affect the environment? And how do you think that will affect us tonight?
Well, I can start with that one. Honestly, it's going to really affect them because I'm telling you, you got to create your own energy out there. Things that normally like this, you can really tell if a team really messes with each other. Because that's what we said for us. Like when we're out there, we like now we're supporting and doing all that because we've been through it. But in the beginning, we wasn't doing all that. Like we was just yelling and stuff at first. But then as the game went on, you don't have those timeouts. At timeouts, it's just quiet. You don't have the jumbotron going off and fans in the crowd and little stuff that you didn't notice before you noticed then. And you really appreciate the fans and the activities that they have for like timeouts, halftime show, all that stuff. And just seeing people in the stands, period. They gotta really bond together and bring their own energy today.
Mike, when you talk about trying to bring that own energy, and when you go on the road, is this going to help Michigan that there's no fans there, or is it just going to be kind of it won't matter?
I would say, like obviously from an offensive standpoint, when you're away with it being loud because you're in enemy territory, that hurts you. So with it being no fans, they'll be able to work through their progress and get their calls in, and however way they're, logistically running the offense, they'll have a cleaner ability to do that. Defensively, though, you feed off of that. Like when you're in enemy territory, you love it, you welcome it, man. Like BG and Ben, like my favorite place is obviously Ohio State and Penn State, man, and Michigan State to go play away. And then like in Wisconsin, you got the jump around. They do the jump around thing. Like you feed off of that. You want to hear them talking smack to you, and that gasses you. That gasses me. And I know those guys are probably similar to that. So they got to bring that. Like Brandon said, they got to create that themselves and know that they won't have it.
So Ben, does that excitement, like Mike say, on the road, get you guys fired up that way?
Yeah, absolutely. And just noticing in our season kind of how weird it is without fans. I mean, it is different. So bringing your own energy is a lot easier said than done, honestly, in these situations. And it might be an adjustment period. But these guys need to come up fired up because it's going to be big. They are fired up for each other and playing hard.
Okay, Jason, we got another question there from the audience?
I think that's it for right now.
Okay, that's it for right now. Okay. And then we're going to bring in a gentleman here to talk a little bit about something that he has been doing for a number of years. And that has been the mentoring program that he has put together for the University of Michigan football team, and that's Clay Miller. And I see we have Clay there. So, Clay, if we can get you up on the board right now, we can get you talking. Clay, by the way, there you go. We got Clay out there. And let me tell you, this is we talked about recruiting before. This is kind of interesting because Clay Miller, he basically was born in Ohio and you brought up in Oklahoma. Wasn't Barry Switzer your a neighbor of sorts back then, Clay?
About 2 blocks down the street. Yeah.
2 blocks. So here he is. He's recruited by all these people, and he ends up coming to Michigan. And tell people why you came to Michigan.
Well, I'm a 3rd generation Michigan alumni. So my grandfather went to Michigan and became a doctor there. My dad and mom both went to Michigan, and my dad went to law school there. And he was a law professor, and that's how we ended up in Norman, Oklahoma. So that's how I got to Oklahoma from Ohio.
Okay. And you talk about it, but academics has always been a strong part of what you've been all about. You've been all academic, Big Ten, all academic, all American, great offensive lineman. You also drafted in the pros, and and you developed your own company. As you're talking with a number of people as you're there with Stone Arch up in Minneapolis, and now you're bringing all your thinking processes of how you've gone through law school at Northwestern, the Harvard Business School, the University of Michigan, and now you're bringing it back to the University of Michigan football players. Tell us what you're doing. When did you start it first? And tell us how that has gone and what you're doing with this program.
Well, thank you, Bruce. As you know, we started this in 2007-8. Lloyd was still there when we first came up with the idea, and really it was just an opportunity to give back. And I just want to say, just like you guys are doing today with the football alumni group, we all look for ways to give back, and I'm just really happy to be part of this today and spread the word. So it started as a small group of guys that came in, and we had a dinner, and it was 4 or 5 of us that talked about our experiences and talked about how the NFL stands for not for long, and you got to have a plan. And today that's grown into an event every year now that isn't just an event. There's an event every spring where we bring in over 100 alumni football players, and then we typically have several people come up and talk, but we break the team into groups that kind of are divided by interest. So law, business, medicine, engineering, entertainment, whatever it may be, and try to provide the existing players with both contacts, role models, and introductions, and sometimes even jobs in those industries that I have interest in when they graduate. And really, it's kind of a network that's really continued to build and flourish. And it's a tribute to all the people that go to the University of Michigan, football players and alumni alike, that all kind of continue to reach back and help the guy behind them and do what they can to help people kind of succeed, both within kind of the sports realm, but also once they're kind of done with their playing days.
Well, it's interesting, but you were, of course, 3rd generation. You had a 4th generation individual go there too, and she ran track, didn't she?
She did for a year. She had some injury issues, unfortunately, so she had to drop out after her freshman year. But I have actually 2 daughters that have attended U of M, so I'm dating myself. But we keep it in the family. We try to keep the closet pure, nothing but maize and blue.
Well, Clay graduated in 1981, and with all these guys up here, they're all kids. The only thing I got in common with anything is Ben's got a mustache as a senior, the way I did in 1974. That's about all that I got in common with these guys. But it's kind of neat that you could join us on this, and I'm sure we're going to talk more with you down the road, because it's kind of neat that we have 2 financial advisors sitting on this panel right now with you and Mike Martin. And I think that's kind of neat, and that tells you a little bit about the academics, because I say this a lot. I think when somebody asks me about what I've done in PR at Michigan, I said, how can you screw it up? look at the guys and gals that you have that are student athletes. You know, our student athletes are the best ambassadors for the University of Michigan Athletic Department. Just let them go, let them do what they need to do, and they're going to go to the top, and they always have. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. And I'm really glad. In fact, we got a couple that just joined us. Jordan Glasgow is over there. I see Jordan on the board, and I see Tim Jamison down there. I think the last time I saw Tim, we ran into each other down south somewhere. And, you know, so two great guys. But before we get to those guys and get those guys on, we have two of the presidents of the alumni clubs up there. And Jason, you want to go from there and ask those questions?
Sure. So the first question I got here is from Jennifer Degus,
okay.
You know, from Chicago. In Chicago club, it's what's your favorite football and non-football Michigan memory?
Ooh.
Jennifer Degus.
Okay, why don't we start off with Mike? You go first.
And so I would say my favorite football memory. So it's actually kind of, you know, obviously, you know, the Ohio State game my senior year, and then the Sugar Bowl going down to New Orleans. I swear that Bourbon Street or whatever felt like Ann Arbor after the game. And it was just like a memory. I've got my helmet sitting over here, and I actually still got the confetti that they dropped that's still sticking in my helmet. And I'll never forget that moment. And it was something that was very special. Non-football, that's still kind of related to football, is that hotel that we stay at that was called the Campus Inn, that's now called the Graduate, I think, right, Bruce?
Yes, yeah, it's the Graduate.
Yeah. They have this clam chowder soup, man. I'm a
Oh
guy.
my goodness.
Oh my gosh. I'm telling you, this soup, it'll change your life, and it'll actually issues and ailments. So that stuff is amazing. So yeah.
All right, Brandon, you jump in right now. You already jumped in on the clam chowder. If it's yours, what are your two favorites?
Dang, first off, Mike, that was a good one because that is the best right there. But my football memory was us winning that 500 game against Wisconsin, coming back from 19-0. That was a big game for me right there, and you know, I was so hyped because I had a couple guys on Wisconsin that I knew. And so that was one that I always can remember. And then non-football, just being around the fellas in that new locker room when we first got it, you know, seeing the excitement of everybody, and just, you know, man, missing those guys now. I mean, that's why I'm happy to be back here, because I can't remember every conversation, but I remember everybody being so excited when we got all that new stuff with the Glick field and then the new locker rooms and stuff. So I always remember that.
Ben?
Yeah, favorite football memory had to be my last game in the Big House my senior year. Played Indiana. It was kind of cool. First half, weather was all right, and then we came out after halftime, and it was a blizzard. The whole field was covered.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
Ended up winning, so it was fun to be a part of. Non-football, I got to say that the clam chowder is gone. That's one of the first things. Coach Harbaugh came in and said no fish night before the game, and he cut out the clam chowder right away.
What?
Oh. So that was the best. Clam chowder's next level for sure. Yeah, I mean, I agree with Brandon. I think we're lucky at Michigan. You know, I always talk to a lot of guys up here in Minnesota with their college experience. You know, I feel like we have just a good group of guys, and they always recruit a certain kind of guy, and it seems to mesh together well and create lasting relationships. So that's something I'm thankful for.
So we're not going to be able to get much from the two guys, but I'm going to put Jordan Glasgow up on this one. Jordan, what do you think are your two favorite memories? And thanks for joining us, by the way.
Oh, no problem. I'm glad to be here. Probably my favorite football memory was either the game against Iowa my last year when it was, I think we won 10-3 and we ended the game on defense, or the game against Notre Dame last year where it was just a torrential downpour the entire game. And I think it was like 40 degrees and everyone was just absolutely soaked and it was just freezing. And I mean, that was the second time I was able to play Notre Dame while I was at the University of Michigan, and we were able to kind of beat the brakes off them a little bit, and it felt good. So I mean, that was that was probably my best football memory. And then, I didn't really ever get to try the clam chowder. I was the first year of Coach Harbaugh, so like I never got to experience it at Campus Inn or the Graduate as it's now called. But I would say that my favorite non-football memory is also still related to football in a way. I guess it's just something that kind of embodies my like academic career throughout Michigan. I remember that whenever you go through finals, it always seems like football is specifically scheduled to make it more difficult for you. So like I remember I had a final the next morning and we had a practice that for some reason ended at like 9:30 p.m. So, and my final was at 8 a.m. the next day. So I was like, I got out of that practice. I think I got up to one of the meeting rooms at around 10 p.m. and I studied with one of my friends from like 10 p.m. until like 12:30 or 1 o'clock. And then I went home, got up, and then took the final at 8 in the morning. So that was just something that kind of encapsulates being a student athlete, especially at the University of Michigan, and the big demands that it puts on you academically and athletically.
Tim, are you there? Tim Jamison, you there? Tim, you want to answer that?
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me, guys. Hold on, let me try to get this video screen. There we go.
There you go. There he is.
What's up, guys? It's been a while since I've seen those faces, man. Y'all was babies. Y'all was babies. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I would say my favorite football story had to be Coach Carr's last game at Capital One Bowl down in Florida. We were playing Tebow. They had just came off the year, win the national championship. And the year prior, we kind of got in a scuffle because we lost to Ohio State, was ranked 1 and 2, and we had a chance to play them again in the national championship, and Urban Meyer came in a campaign, and Coach Carr took the upper road, the high road, and they got a chance to go there. So we got our rematch against them in the Capital One Bowl, and we beat them pretty handily. And it was awesome for Coach Carr to end his career with a win, and so that was awesome, and play with my teammates like that. So non-football story, I can't believe nobody talked about how they had to get up there and sing their freshman year, all those songs and things like that. That was always a sight to see. I don't want to tell nobody stories, but it was pretty funny. And just to bond with those teammates, like all these guys said, when you leave, it's all business, whether you go into professional, whether you go play pro and things like that, it's the business. So when you're in college, it's all just, kids just growing up from childhood to adulthood. We all maturing together. We all learning from each other. And so those are things that you miss. So it's good to see y'all faces, man. So, yeah.
All right, we have some questions from some of the presidents of the clubs, and I'm going to turn it over to Jason right now. Jace, can you get those questions going, and we'll get it to our 3 panelists and see what we can do.
Sure. I got some questions. Now I see Ben is actually on there from Philly. Ben, did you want to ask your question live? I see Ben is on the panel now.
First of all, go blue. And my name is Ben Wanger. I'm the president of the Philadelphia Club. And first of all, Brandon, I want to thank you for giving me one of the best football moments of my life.
Thank you. You're welcome, man.
My question is for the guys. Kind of when you're playing in the league and after you graduate Michigan, how closely do you follow the Michigan football team?
Start with you, Brandon. Let's start with Brandon. He is the Philly guy.
Well, I follow them every week. I'm sitting here waiting on the Michigan game now. I talk stuff about what they're going to do, even if they having a losing season or whatever it is that's going on. I'm committed to the team. So I'm every week.
I'll jump up second. So one of my favorite things is when you're traveling during the season, like BG's on a bye week, but when, like, let's say he had a game, they would be traveling and you get on the plane and everyone has, their TV and they're watching the game, and you get per diem for that weekend. And usually the teams I've been on, the vets make you put all the money in a bag and you write your number on it, and they see who won the mix that weekend. It's like a whole per diem money bag thing. But a lot of times guys will use that money and put bets towards their teams. Like, man, I'm, and I always obviously is, got my team every day, all weekend, every weekend. And it's just a fun thing that we do. And it keeps that spirit alive. And, I'm always got Michigan's back 100%.
Ben?
Yeah. I'm every week. I try to watch every week, as much as I can. I don't know the roster quite as well as I have in the past few years, just because being, 4 years out now, I don't know, or didn't play with, as many of those guys now, but I love following along. It's fun to stay involved and kind of see how the program evolves over these years.
All right, Jason, why don't we get the next question out and see, because we want to make sure we get as many questions as we possibly can get in here from our audience.
Sure. Next, we got Jim from Twin Cities Club. Jim, would you like to ask your question?
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can. And if there's anybody specific if there's anybody specific you want to ask it to, please do.
No, sometimes my computer audio is hit and miss. So question one of my colleagues here in the Twin Cities had is, do the players think that our defense can get to Minnesota quarterback and pressure him enough to affect his play?
I'm going to jump on that because yes, we're going to go right to the chase. Second of all, I've kept a relationship with Aiden, Hutchinson, Kwity Paye, and Carlo Kemp, and those guys, man, they're ready. And I know they're going to rush the passer. So talking to the defensive linemen, these guys, they know that they have to get to the quarterback. They know where his spot's going to be. And when you talk about, as a defensive lineman, they tell you where's the quarterback going to be and his drop back and everything. They know he's going to be in that, that 5 to 6 to 7 yard range. Get to the spot and you'll get to the quarterback.
Yep. Now, I'm with you on that, Mike. I worked out with Aiden this offseason up at Barwis, and during COVID. Once everything kind of opened up a little bit, and just to see him, I was like, wow, okay, now I see he the real deal. So it was fun to watch him work out and do all those things. So I'm looking for some big things for him this year, and I'm happy that the Big Ten finally let everybody to play. So Aiden, that's my guy tonight. That's my impact player tonight.
Yeah, they got a couple legit pass rushers I'm looking forward to watching. I know Don Brown as the DC loves getting after quarterbacks with, some of these aggressive blitzes. So I'm interested to see kind of how the defensive scheme changes a little bit this year from past years, because I know Don's trying to be a little bit more multiple with what we do, and he definitely likes getting after the quarterback, though, so it'll be fun to watch.
We're going to put Tim and Jordan in here, because both the defense. Jordan, you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, I mean, Carlo, Kwity, Aiden, all three returning starters in terms of the D-line. And, I mean, they were good last year, and I'm excited to see what kind of gains they've been able to make, this last offseason. And I also worked out with Aiden a little bit over the offseason when we were able to. Mm-hmm. And he's an impressive person, an impressive athlete. And I'm excited what he's going to do. I'm excited to see what Kwity and Carlo's going to do. And then our linebackers, who are also involved in blitzes really often, is a returning starter, and then a person that's been that's played a lot over the last 2 years. And they're going to be a better linebacking core than there was last year, which actually included me. So, I mean, they're going to be a lot better than I was in McGrone, where they're going to be probably one of the best linebacking duos in the country. So I'm excited to see that.
You like those ideas, Tim?
Yeah, I would say it seems like the D-line, it looked like they're going to be the strength of the defense this year. But I would say due to the weather conditions today, it might be, freezing up there. So I would say focus on stopping the run first, and then the pass stuff will come. When that stuff comes, then you can get after it. I'm pretty sure. I know you guys talked about it playing during the COVID season. You always got to make sure that they took care of their bodies. So I just want to make sure everybody stay healthy, and you don't want nobody pulling no injuries and nothing like that. And then, watching their cues and playing against the run, because when that weather is bad, the ball is slippery. So they're going to try to run the ball, and if you don't stop the run, then you won't have a chance to rush the passer. So.
And it's got to be the biggest thing in today's game because really it's their offensive line and their offensive their quarterback is their strength, and our defense seems to be our strength. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. Next question, Jason.
Sure.
Real quick, if I could just
can
you hear me? Oh yeah, this
I
next
could just
question
say
is,
thank you guys, and yeah, we're really crushed that we couldn't host everyone up in the Twin Cities. So go Blue! Thank you guys.
all right, thanks, Jim. The next question is from Celeste Northern from New York City, and this one is important because one of the things we're really trying to do is drive our regional ambassador initiative. And Celeste, so we're happy to have a presence out there in New York. And if you got a question for someone, go ahead and ask that question.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Celeste. I'm a 2007 graduate and the president of the New York City Club. So with that said, I want to congratulate Brandon for winning on Thursday against the Giants. I was cheering for you. So my question was similarly related to attendance and game environment, going from the big house, to winning a Super Bowl and having like enormous energy in a crowd and having to adjust to that, going from a large crowd to fans of 7,500 and what that impact has had. I know you spoke on it briefly, but also, wanting to know about the mental prep for game day on a weekly basis, understanding that you have to have these additional safety protocols with the pandemic.
So that's for me. Also, first off, with the protocols, every morning you have to get your tests. You got to get your nose swab, and then it's like 5 minutes. It's not really a big deal, but it's just the habit of doing. You got to get in the habit of doing everything. Then you got to fill out a questionnaire on your phone. Takes like 2 minutes, and then you gotta scan, get your face scanned just to get in the building, and then you get to work. You keep your mask on at all times because now they're sending footage, your camera footage around to make sure you practicing and being safe in the building. So you gotta always have your mask on. But the fan part, now that we have 7,500, now it feels like a game now. But in the beginning, it was like after you say the national anthem, you usually hear like a roar after. It's just complete silence. You hear the other team and they trash talk, and you hear our trash talk, and that's all you got. So you got to really lean on each other, and it really shows you the bond that you have with your group. Because at first we didn't really we had a bond, but we didn't know that we wasn't as tight as we thought we was. Until the fans wasn't there, because the fans kind of mask the excitement sometimes. And so some people, just had to get out of their shell and start to transfer energies. And I think we started to do a good job of it because we got some good leaders on the team.
That's awesome. Good to know that it strengthens your bond.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Celeste. Jason, our next question.
Sure. Kathy from Manistee. She's on the panel. Kathy, would you like to ask your question to someone?
Yes, thank you for letting me on here. Go Blue, everyone. I'm down in Orlando, Florida, actually, and I'm with my son, and we've been talking about this, and here's the question. Ben?
Who's going to step up at wideout this year to replace the big shoes, or the big hole kind of left by Nico and the whole crew? Who's going to be the guy?
We'll give that. Let Jordan. Jordan, you're the young guy there. Let Jordan. Let's see. Jordan, can you answer that one? You got an idea?
Yeah, I mean, someone that contributed a lot last year was Ronnie Bell. I think he had 1 or 2 100-yard games, which was really good last year. So I mean, him having a bigger role in the offense, and then also having a more mobile quarterback that'll probably be involved a lot in the run, like last year with Joe Milton, and then obviously people will step up. Giles Jackson was a big person that they used, that we used in jet sweeps and stuff like that. He'll be more integrated as well. I mean, I don't know who's going to step up in terms of, on the outside, maybe Ronnie will take some reps at, X or Z, or, be the only receiver on one side, try and get him a one-on-one matchup. But, I think Ronnie's going to do really well this year, and I think he's going to be one of the top targets. So.
Thank you, Jordan. Appreciate it.
All right. Next question, Jason.
So this question comes from the Q&A feed, and this is from Ron Kim. as a 90 graduate. And Ron's question is, we are seeing what looks like a number of upsets or near upsets this season. Do you think COVID and mental and practice schedule disruption has equalized the teams a bit more, at least earlier in the season? Seems like all teams are a bit rusty.
Well, let's start with Ben on this one. Ben?
Yeah, probably, honestly. Been a long time since these guys have went out and played a live football game against someone else. And shoot, it's going to be interesting to see how these teams play, quite frankly. I don't know. We'll see. I haven't watched many of the college games, but I know in the NFL there was some sloppy play early on. And as you know, the faster these teams can get that down, and like Brandon talked about, the no fans is something that is hard to really realize how much of an impact it makes unless you're there in the stadium. It's different. So it'll be fun to watch. I don't know. We'll see.
You agree, Brandon? Because, I mean, you've been seeing it with the pros.
Yeah. I mean, like, it definitely has an impact. It's no advantage, I feel, because you don't have the offense trying to figure out like communication calls. I mean, communication, everybody, you can hear everybody. So it's just all about you executing and, the physicality of, your team and stopping the run. Like Tim said, you got to be able to stop the run in order to win.
Hey, I got to jump in real quick.
Yes, sir.
I just thought of something. And BG was talking about bring your own energy. Look, this guy was one of the best guys to bring his own energy, because you know why? He would take a little nap right before we would go out, down, and run down the tunnel. Everybody else is getting gassed up, like, doing whatever you got to do to get hype. And BG's over here just taking a little nap. And then as soon as they woke him up, oh, hey, all right, here we go. And then the rest is history. So whatever you got to do to bring your energy, you got to do it. So that's what
you got to make that choice.
Just so you know, in 1989, when the basketball team won the national championship, Glenn Rice was asleep on the training table before the game. True story. Wow. It's a true story. He was asleep in the training table before the game. That's it. So go there. Jason, do we have any more questions there?
Sure. Yeah. Before we go to the next question, we're going to put some links in the feed, where you can keep in contact with FAM, some of our social media sites. And if you're interested in doing some business with us, we got a link where you can fill out an intake form. Next, we're going to go to Steven. Is that Dayton, Steven?
Yeah. Hi. Go Blue. I was saying I go back long enough that I remember playing Minnesota almost every year. It was a rare year when we didn't play them. And now with expansion, that little brown jug isn't always up to be contested every year. Does that make it any less important that it's less frequent?
Tim, we'll start with you since you haven't had a chance to answer any of the questions there. We'll get you on that one in the brown jug.
Oh, no. The brown jug is a rivalry game, and every rivalry game, we don't play them often. When we get a chance, we take that. That's serious. That's a very serious thing, especially the little brown jug. Just hearing the story, it's kind of petty, actually. Going back there, and I believe it was 1933, I believe.
It started back in the early 1900s. But
just about when they stole our water jug.
Well, they stole it in the 20s. They found it in the 30s. It's kind of an interesting story. You got to get Greg Dooley at mvictors.com to follow that one.
So, for the simple fact, they told us that we got to play for it. They didn't just want to send it to us. And back then, it wasn't flying on airplanes and things like that. It was a travel by a train and things like that. So, they could, so we hold that story every time it's time to play them. Coach Carr will always give us stories about every team. And that rivalry is a big one. It's one of the oldest rivalries. So anytime we get a chance to play them, you got to throw out the records. No one cares if Michigan won X amount of times, when like today it's 0 versus 0. And they're using that as field. So you got to throw out everything out when you're talking about rivalry games. So it's definitely serious.
All right, we're coming to an end, and we still have a question from Vaughn from Bay City. So, Jason, you want to get him involved in this one?
Yeah, Vaughn, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Was answered already about the wide receivers. I guess with offensive line, we lost quite a few people on the offensive line. So I don't know who you see stepping up to fill in the spots in the O-line this year.
Where do you want to start? You want to start with Mike on this one? Mike, can you answer that, or are we going to go back to Jordan?
No, yeah. I know there's a lot of young blood on that offensive line, and I was listening to I think Kwity Paye was. I read a quote in the paper, him saying none of these guys are scared to step up. Like they know it's their time to step up, and they're eager and they're doing it. They're fighting to battle for that spot, and that's what you want. They, we've got one guy on the offensive line that has some experience from last year, but not much. But I also heard Josh Gaddis saying that he has confidence in these guys that they're going to get it done, and I know they've been doing what they need to do in practice.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you on there, Mike. And I want to thank all of our panelists, Ben, Mike, and Brandon. And I'm happy to see Tim there and Jordan jumping in. It's good to see you guys. And next week, we're going to do this again. And it's going to be at 10:30 a.m. before the Michigan State game. And the panel will be of Ty Law, current NFL Hall of Famer, by the way, Brandon Watson with the Jacksonville Jags, and Maurice Williams, by the way, is going to be in. And we'll have some fun talking to them. We appreciate everybody joining us. We couldn't get to all the questions tonight because, of course, we have to be going. And I got to go to work because I think out on the field, if there's going to be any ghost that we're going to find today, they're going to be out on this field today when Deerdorf and Brandstetter do it. And we've got everybody's doing the broadcast from the radio broadcast from the Michigan Stadium press box today. That's how it is with COVID-19. It's going to be a little bit different. And what we're going to do is we're going to keep this virtual tailgate going thanks to Jason and Mike and Fam and the whole bit. And it's always great to see the former Michigan football players here. And we invite you every week that we can have this thing. So next week, 10:30 before Michigan State. But before we leave, just want to say one thing. Let's beat Minnesota, get that jug that was on the plane, bring it back home, and go blue. Thanks, everybody. And now let's see this piece from our good man that we have the pump-up piece, James Earl Jones.
This is the University of Michigan.
What a football game we're going to have here this afternoon.
You are looking live at a sold-out
103,000.
Michigan Stadium in Ann Arbor.
The football game from Ann Arbor.
The nation will rock with the praises of the maize and blue this evening.
Where we respect integrity and honor excellence.
The jubilation and cheering long into the night.
Here come the Wolverines.
We are loyal Wolverines.
Today, your football team is #1 in the country, and it's all right here.
Standing for Midwestern values, hard work, determination, and an enthusiasm unknown to mankind.
Old season is over. It's going to be Michigan again.
We are the best university in the world. Students and athletes and professors achieving at the highest level. You better believe it. This is our legacy and our future. We are proud members of the Big Ten Conference in pursuit of national championships.
We'll win this championship.
We have won more games than any team in the country. No one has won more. We believe in football.
We did it.
Championship football.
He hands off the shoulder.
Upper Braylon up in the air. Touchdown! Touchdown, Billy!
Shoelaces flopping in the wind.
We shy away from no challenge or opponent.
Brady.
We bow to no man. We bow to no program. We are Michigan.